And the oil-soaked vise always makes it fun when we torch stuff in it. This is the lowest setting. It's pretty loud. Hey YouTube, MinnesotaEric. So I got a project going on here. I've got a friend who has a garden tractor with a snowblower on it, and what he wants to do is have an electrically powered chute so he doesn't have to crank a wheel over and over to make it go left and right. And so he's brought it on by. I kicked him out of the shop because I told him, hey, this is going to be like making sausage. It's tasty at the end, you just don't want to see the process. But I'm going to show you the process. Let me show you what my plan is. This is my buddy's garden tractor. As you can see, he's got a snowblower. And he lives kind of, it's not really a peninsula, but it's windy, and so he's constantly having to adjust the chute. That's this guy, the snowblower chute, left and right. And he had a hand crank that went up here, and let's see here, get in there. That he cranked left, right, and center. I already cut that off. So my plan here is to use an old window motor off of a, what was this? A Buick, 2006 Buick. And I've got myself a 1/4 inch impact. I don't know if you can see that. Universal joint for a 1/4 inch impact. And that's going to be my universal joint. And I'm going to weld that onto this window regulator, or excuse me, this window motor. Then fab up a bracket to hold this guy in here, like so. The big hassle I've got is I've really got to concentrate on getting this universal centered. Nope, there it went. On this gear, and I don't have a real good way to hold that into place while welding it, because my welding clamp has got to go on this thing. So anyway, and then I got to tack weld it. I can't just weld it all the way around, or I'll put too much heat into this motor and screw it up. So I got to tack it, let it cool, tack it, let it cool, tack it, let it cool. So that's the real challenge on this. I guess the second challenge will be figuring out how to make a bracket here. So a stupid problem we have as we get older is the inability to see very well up close. And this is something that's really fine, and so boy, I don't know if I can grind that out. I sure hope I got it right. Let's set up my holder. Well, that looks pretty good. I got you zoomed in a little bit. Let's see what this looks like. Zoom this out so we can. I'm trying to get this thing centered, you know what I mean? Now I gotta let this thing cool down because I don't want to burn out the motor. And then, so what I'm gonna do is get this back in the frame. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna tack it again over and over and over until I've got this guy welded all the way around on this gear. I got the volts cranked up pretty high and the feed speed as slow as it'll let me go. What am I welding at? 19.5 volts and feed speed of what? 220, 223. I think that's the slowest I can go. So I'm using a Miller Multimatic 200 welder, and I started to try to do this project yesterday. And I got the garage warmed up to about 30 degrees. Went to turn on my welder and it was a stone. It wouldn't turn on. Oh no, what's going on? So I called up Miller, because I looked in the manual and there wasn't anything that says if it's a stone, do this. So I called up Miller. First ring, they answer. Within 1 minute, I'm talking to a technician. I couldn't believe it. And he says, geez, if it's a stone like that, you're going to have to bring it into Bemidji Welding Supply. That's my local Miller dealer, to get it serviced. And it's under warranty. Good. Well, so I unplugged it from everything on the gas and whatnot and brought it into the house. And last night, just for giggles, I thought I'd change out the plug and stick it into a 110, 115 or 15 amp outlet. And it lit up. Went, oh, for crying out loud. It fixed itself. So I called Miller again today. And they said, hey, no problem. We will extend the warranty onto this. If it's a problem again and it happens, it starts to become repeatable. So I got a kudos to Miller Welding. I mean, wow, that's pretty cool. Machine comes with a 3-year warranty, and so they just sounds like they just kind of said, okay, whatever reasonable a forever warranty is, but they said, yeah, if you end up having to fix that out of warranty, we will give that consideration. We've documented it with your seal number, and I went, wow, that's pretty cool, Miller. And I guess that's one reason why you pay premium money for a premium welder. So anyway, let's get it going here. Okay, YouTube, so as you go along fabbing things, sometimes you realize maybe the plan could get better. And so in my case, I decided the plan could get better if I slipped a socket, a 3/8 inch socket, over this and welded around here. And so in this way, we would have the provision for being able to take this thing off and replace it at some point if we needed to, without having to break welds. And so that's my plan. And also, I have, if you can see it here, I've filed down the 1/4 inch extension just a little bit. I was afraid that it would get, well, first I thought I was going to weld on it, but I was also afraid that I wanted a little bit of play in there, and because I know that this thing isn't perfectly straight. And also it'll keep it from rusting solid to the socket later on in life. So anyway, so now I'm going to weld this 3/8 inch socket onto the end right there. Alright, YouTube, I know that this looks a little hokey here with this towel, but there's a plastic grommet right behind here, and I can't remove it. So I'm trying to preserve it by basically putting a wet towel on there and giving this thing a giant heat sink. So let's see if this works out here. Whoops, I'm on the ground. The problem is you see I gotta turn this and come back in here and put my heat sink back on. I'm waiting for the towel to burst into flames. Well, yeah. Looks like we're going to have to do it 2 more times here. Yeah, the grommets. All right, here we go again. Get on there. All right. The socket is welded on there. Okay, YouTube. What I've done here is done a little bit of dead reckoning, and I put a 1-inch notch to catch this tube here, and I'll weld this on. And I marked where I want this to go down here, and so now I figure I got to cut across here, and then I'll come in and I'll put another notch here so I can slide this piece in and weld it on here, and then we'll have our bracket for our electric motor. Okay, so now I got to guess my gosh where to locate this thing, and considerations is that this hood opens, and I got to remain clear of that, so I can't go really much further over on this side, and I'm guessing right about there. No, you can't see me, but right there. What a mess. So here's the deal. You got a YouTube channel, and it gets big enough, and eventually you start getting these guys coming out of the woodwork with dumb little $20 products. So you want to test this? No. No, really, I don't. I mean, it takes time to edit a video. I just spent $1,000 on a 20 gigabyte or 20 terabyte RAID system for video storage. Reviewing a $20 product isn't it. But I tell you what, China, if you have a $20 oil can that works good, I'll review that. All of mine leak, and they don't hold up in the winter. We've made a notch. Check it out. So we do a bit of a test fit here. It's kind of coming together. We gotta realize that this is gonna have to get bolted on in such a way that our bolts are gonna go in like so. We gotta make sure that I don't know if you see this on camera, but this slides down and hits here, and that's our stop, one of our stops for the chute. And we also see that we got a bunch of extra metal here, so basically maybe I can go up another line right here, here, and maybe something like that. X that off. Alright, I'm just going to dress this up a little bit, round it off. Okay, so this thing sits in the machine like this. I'm going to be welding on the top side on this end and in the inboard side on this end. So I got to clean this up with the flapper wheel so I can MIG it. So yeah, since you saw me last, I've gotten a haircut. It was about 2 months overdue, by my reckoning. I wish I had an automatic center punch that worked. I'm trying to figure out what happened to all my automatic center punches. Why did they grow legs? Normally I'd take an oil can and just kind of squirt the hole, and then the oil would tend to stay there, but I am oil can challenged, as I've mentioned already. The darn things, the ones I've had, have split their seams, or the pump stops working because they're exposed to the cold up here. Okay, YouTube, you can kind of see I've made some progress here. The electric motor itself, it's not exactly flat, so I've got these washers on here, as ugly as they are, so that the motor can stand proud and sit flush against my bracket without putting any weight on the plastic part. It occurred to me this thing's going to work in the cold, and any tension on the plastic's inevitably going to lead to it fracturing somehow, some way. So I decided, as sinfully ugly as that is, I'd put those washers on there, and I had to custom cut a couple of them. And then these bolts are bass-ackwards, but that's because this here is threaded on this end, and so I've got a bolt going through, and then we've got nylon locking nuts on here just to hold it all tight. And so for aesthetics, I'd like to send the bolts in the other way, from this end in, but it's better this way. It's more functional this way. I've got everything fitted. It clears the hood just ever so much, but it clears. I had to grind on it with a flat paddle to make it fit. And I'm ready to put the grind on this pole here and tack weld this bracket on. Okay, so before I weld on the bracket, the next thing I got to do is wire. And why wire now? Because, well, it's easier to do it off of the lawnmower and easier to do it on the bench. So I'm going to cut off this automotive style end that I don't have the female connector for, and I'm going to install a Deutsch style. Now, if you want to see how the Deutsch style pins are done, watch one of my pontoon videos. I'll link to it down in the description below. So off camera, I put on the ends on the motor, and then on a good 6 feet of wire. And I tell you what, I'm going to wrap this, and then these wires will lay real nice too, with minimum amounts of zip ties needed to hold it solid to the tractor. So I'm going to skip over the wrapping of this wire. Okay, we got to grind off here. We got to grind off here. I got 2 marks, so I can weld onto this. Hopefully the camera picked that up. Hopefully. This bottom inside weld is going to be the hassle weld. I think we abandoned these for now. I'll put a new zip tie on later. That's fitting about as good as I need it to fit. Something else you might be wondering why it's so darn quiet in here as opposed to the first part of this video. Well, that's because I have retired the giant heater and bought the middle heater, and so I got $124 into this big one. If you're in my area, I'll sell it to you. It's been used once and I want $100 for it. So get a hold of me if you're interested. It runs on propane. But I'm going to keep this small heater. This is not on the lowest setting by any means, but I tell you what, here I can talk in the garage, and it's just not as loud, and quite frankly, this thing on its lowest setting was baking me out of here. So anyway, here's the result. The performance is, I think that's about the right speed. I like it. Takes about 9 seconds to go from one side to the other side. The nuts and bolts of it here, I'll show you. The electrical wires can be detached, so when the snowblowers drop for the spring and summer and fall cleanups, there's an electrical connector there. That's a Deutsch connector. And then I've got, there's a little bit of play here just so when this hood scoop goes down, it doesn't hit there. Got it zip tied along here on the frame. More zip ties going on up. And then get over on the other side so we can stay out of my own light. Power and ground are provided, but power is fused on a marine style fuse, and I've got this a little loose just because this cap has to be able to pull out and you want to flip it around, so there's got to be a little bit of play so you can service the fuse. Everything else is pretty well zip tied firm up. It goes up to the switch. You can see the 4 pink connectors in your upper left there, and so that goes it's a reverse polarity switch. So that's what you want, is a reverse polarity switch. If you don't use a reverse polarity, you'll have to use a 6-pin switch and reverse the polarity yourself. This is a little bit more elegant, less wires, and that's really about it. If you enjoyed this video, then give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, then subscribe. Thanks, YouTube. Till we meet again. Bye-bye. God, I have no idea where to put that thumb. Unfortunately, I popped the hose. The hose got damaged, and I popped it, so we're done with the gravel work today.